KnightBleed. Alley Prayers. Chapter 1. Offerings in the alley. The heat clung to Bedlam like a bad memory. Keith Townsend pushed his broom along the curb, sweat darkening the back of his city-issued jacket. Midnight had come and gone, but the air still refused to cool, thick with exhaust, garbage rot, and something metallic he couldn't quite place. Somewhere nearby, sirens wailed. Ambulance, maybe more than one, stretching and fading between buildings like wounded animals. Keith didn't look up. He'd learned not to. The alley beside him exhaled darkness. Narrow, brick-walled. The kind of place the city forgot unless someone died in it. He heard movement. Not footsteps exactly, more like a scrape, a shuffle. Shadows slid along the brick, bending where no one should have been standing. Keith sighed. "Jesus Christ," he muttered, and leaned his broom against the curb. He stepped into the alley. Something slammed into him hard enough to knock the air from his lungs. A body, young, fast, panicked, clipped his shoulder and sent him sprawling onto the concrete. Keith hit the ground with a grunt, pain blooming through his hip and spine. "Sorry," a voice barked, already running. A teenager burst past him, sneakers slapping wet pavement, breath ragged with fear. The kid didn't look back. Keith lay there for a moment, staring up at the sliver of sky overhead. The sirens sounded closer now. "Hell of a night," he said to no one. He hauled himself upright, bones protesting, and limped deeper into the alley. That's when he saw it, an altar. Not church-made, not pretty, just arranged. Toys first. Stuffed animals with their eyes torn out. Plastic action figures snapped at the waist. A doll with its head twisted backward, hair matted stiff with something dark, blood. It streaked the concrete in deliberate lines, smeared across the brick like finger painting gone wrong. Crude masks leaned against the wall, paper and cloth hastily cut, each one bearing the same dead-eyed face. Hollow circles where eyes should be. A vertical slash running through the head, sharp and final. Drawings covered the bricks, childlike, chalk and marker and whatever else small hands could steal. A figure stood atop buildings, taller than the city, cloak snapping in an imagined wind. Crooks lay broken at his feet. Their mouths were open in screams the artist hadn't bothered to draw. At the center, someone had scratched a symbol into the wall. Simple, violent, final. Keith stared at it, throat dry. "This ain't right," he whispered. The alley felt like it was watching him back. The diner smelled like burnt coffee and old grease. Officer Raymond Lasky sat at the counter, hat beside his elbow, stirring sugar into a mug he didn't need sweetened. His reflection wobbled in the chrome napkin holder. Older than he felt, more tired than he admitted. The waitress topped him off without asking. "Rough night?" she said. "Same as always," Lasky replied. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "You hear about what the kids are saying?" Lasky sighed. "Here we go." "Some of the homeless folks I feed," she went on, "they say there's this mask-wearing serial killer watching over the children, like some kind of guardian." Lasky snorted. "Guardian, huh? They're leaving things for him. Altars, toys, food." She shook her head. "The kids call him KnightBleed." That got his attention. "Barely. Urban legend," Lasky said. "Bedlam's full of them. City eats people alive. They start inventing monsters to make sense of it." She frowned. "Still, feels wrong." "Everything feels wrong at 2 a.m, he said, draining his cup. He stood, tossed some bills on the counter, and grabbed his hat. "Get some sleep." Outside, the city hummed, low, electric, restless. Lasky stepped onto the sidewalk and froze. Across the street, atop a narrow building, something stood, silhouetted against the sky. A man-shaped shadow, still, watching. The wind tugged at something hanging from his shoulders. Lasky's stomach tightened. The figure didn't move. "Damn freak," Lasky muttered, and walked away without looking back. The boy knelt on cracked concrete, knees aching through thin fabric. His name didn't matter. No one ever used it right anyway. Purple bruises bloomed along his cheekbone. One eye was swollen, half shut. His hands trembled as he pressed them together, fingers dirty, nails bitten raw. "Please," he whispered. The alley behind him breathed hot air. "Please come," the boy said. "Please make him stop." He bowed his head. Words spilled out in a rush, half prayer, half wish. He didn't know who KnightBleed really was, didn't care. He just knew the stories, knew what happened to bad men in them. Above him, unseen, something moved. KnightBleed flowed across rooftops with practiced silence, boots finding edges and gaps without thought. Not leaping, not flying, just moving. The city offered him paths if you knew how to read it. He stopped when he saw the boy, watched. The prayer scraped against something inside him. The boy stood and walked, shoulders hunched, back already carrying weight it shouldn't. KnightBleed followed from above, keeping distance, matching pace. The apartment building waited at the end of the block, concrete ribs exposed, windows dark and broken. A place that collected people the way wounds collected infection. The boy didn't go inside. He sat on the stoop instead, arms around his knees, waiting. KnightBleed lingered in the shadows across the street. Then he turned away. Dawn crept over Bedlam in sickly gray bands. The city pretended to wake up. KnightBleed passed a pawn shop window where a small television flickered behind dusty glass. Missing child, age 10. Last seen near the Prime Wood Apartments. The boy's face filled the screen. KnightBleed stopped. It was the little boy from the alley, the one who'd prayed to him. Another prayer unanswered. KnightBleed, Alley of Prayers. Chapter 2. Saint of the Forgotten. The kids came after midnight. KnightBleed watched from above as they filtered into the alley one by one, small shapes moving with practiced caution. They carried offerings in plastic bags and jacket pockets, things stolen, scavenged, or given up without understanding their value. Coins clinked softly as they were poured out at the base of the wall. A bruised apple, a folded dollar stained with something brown and old. Someone placed a toy soldier upright, careful not to knock it over. They stepped back and bowed their heads. KnightBleed stayed still. He followed them when they left. They moved like ghosts through Bedlam. Quick hands, fast eyes. One distracted, another lifted a wallet. A third kept watch. They weren't good at it, but they were desperate, and desperation learns fast. As they walked, they talked. "Some people say he's just a serial killer wearing a mask," one boy said. "Nah," another replied. "He don't kill anybody who don't deserve it." The oldest boy, Archie, walked at the front. 13, maybe 14. Too sharp, too sure. "He ain't human," the older boy said. "He's an Acadian." The others leaned in. "A what?" "Acadian," he repeated. "Saint of the Forgotten. A demon that slaughters people who hurt kids. You gotta call him. Gotta pray in the right way." A girl frowned. "Demons are bad." "Not all of them," the boy said. "Some only spill the blood of the evil people." They asked him what KnightBleed did to the people he caught. The boy didn't hesitate. "Cuts off their heads, sometimes worse. Leaves the bodies in crazy positions so everybody knows not to fuck around. Leaves his mark so they don't forget." "What mark?" someone asked. The boy smiled. "The last thing they ever see." A panicked shriek broke up the conversation. They heard it before they saw it. A woman's voice, raw, tearing through the street. Tires squealed. A car door slammed. A man had her by the arm, yanking her toward the open passenger seat. She clawed at him, heels scraping uselessly against oil-slick pavement. The kids barely reacted. The horrors of Bedlam numbed better than the most powerful anesthetic. Above them, movement. KnightBleed crossed the rooftop of the building across the street and parkoured down the jagged face of the structure. He landed behind the car with a loud thud. The man released his hold on the woman and turned and watched in stunned shock as the sword glistened for a half second before disappearing into his abdomen. The wielder slashed left, and the kidnapper's guts spilled from his body in steaming loops. The katana sang, and the head dropped from the body onto the pavement. Blood painted the hood of the car, splashed the woman's face. She collapsed, sobbing. KnightBleed turned. He faced the children. In one hand, the katana dripped red. In the other, he held the man's severed head by the hair. The eyes were wide, mouth still working around a scream it would never finish. The boys stared. Then, applause. Small hands clapped. Nervous, reverent. KnightBleed dropped the head. It rolled once, then stopped. He was gone before the sirens came. The kids ran all the way back to the shelter, breathless and shaking, voices overlapping. They talked about the mask, kabuki still, expressionless. The shining katana, the way he'd parkoured across the rooftop in spinning motions. On his cot, the oldest boy, Archie, stared at the ceiling and smiled. "We called," he whispered, and he answered.
They whisper my name in alleys of fear. A ghost in the concrete, always near. Justice and vengeance, a blurred, broken line. The reflection in the puddle, is it even mine?